Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. Why being transparent and vulnerable makes better leaders. Let's talk about that. I know, when we go to medical school and training and we are told not to show weakness, right? We are put on a pedestal as experts. I know I've had that problem where I felt like I didn't want to let anyone know that I didn't know what was going on in terms of leadership. So let's talk about it with an expert. My name is Dr. Elsie Coe. I am the founder and CEO of Lead Physician Leadership Program, the Chief Medical Officer of American Endovascular and Amputation Prevention. We have a YouTube channel, subscribe so you could be notified for any future videos, and we have old ones there too that you can watch. Lead Physicians all about bringing passion, purpose, and potential back to our physicians. And today I'm going to be introducing to you Amanda Brisebois, and she is by specialty a general internal medicine and palliative medicine specialist. She's also wears multiple leadership hats, including medical director of the Covenant Palliative Care Institute, the chief medical officer of Covenant Health in Canada. And in addition to all that, she's an ICF trained coach and an expert in communications, and she has formal training in conflict negotiation, um, diversity, inclusion, and equity. And so, I could talk on and on about her, but I'm going to bring her on because she's the one who's going to be giving us these little clues on um, on this topic. So, thank you so much for being here, Mandy.
I'm excited to be here Sunday morning, and I have my coffee already.
Okay, I know. Thank you so much for waking up early for me. I know
Of
you're 2
course.
hours ahead of me. So, tell me, Mandy. I want to hear from you. You're an expert in communication. What are your thoughts on this topic?
I absolutely am bonded with this topic, as we've talked before, and as a leader that's gone through, as we say, the chain of trying to get to higher and higher level leadership. I used to think that you had to be this perfect leader and know everything. And
Yes.
so when I was asked to do things, I led a hospital through the pandemic as the medical director, and I just felt ill-equipped. So that was my fault, like in my mind, and just like you're saying. And so reached out and I got training and all this stuff that you're talking about. And all of a sudden I thought, that's not my fault. I'm a clinician. Like, I was trained in medical school to take care of patients. And it's not that we necessarily have to know everything. It's how
Okay.
do you find the people in the room that know, and I always say, more than you or
Right.
different than you,
Right. Right.
and so that you can get support from them. And that's vulnerable. You have to say, I don't know this.
Right. Right. But you know what? Then I think a lot of people feel like they are, because we're put on a pedestal, that showing any kind of weakness may be a liability. And you don't, if you want to go for that next position, you don't want people to know you don't know. So how can we change our mindset about that?
I think it has to change at multiple levels. I think it starts with every single leader, informal or formal.
Right.
And sometimes you are going to hit roadblocks where you try to get a job that doesn't fit, and that you have to accept that. I
Hmm.
just applied for a high level job, didn't get it. However, when I look at it, I think maybe they're not ready for that real vulnerability, or maybe there was
Mm,
something else they were looking for that was more prescriptive, if that makes sense.
right.
Because I am very vocal about having conversations. It does cause problems sometimes.
Right.
And people are like, "Well, I don't like that. It makes people look bad."
Right. And
And
you and I both talked about the importance of vulnerability, and you're right. Like if you're going for a position, there are times when you need to be vulnerable, and times when you aren't. And if you're that person who's developing that leader, and you're becoming that great listener and that great communicator, bringing vulnerability allows people to feel, draw certain positive things that I want to talk about that you and I both spoke about. So maybe you can talk about these things one by one as I bring them up.
the meaningful connections is
Yeah.
so critical. There's a book called Humble Leadership, and it's talking about all different businesses across the world where humble leadership means knowing the people around you, not just
Mhm.
saying hi as you pass in the hall, but knowing what they're going through and asking them and sitting down and wondering. And I don't know if I have time to talk about the purple hair story, but
Yeah.
I mean, you can't, it's coming up, but I have purple hair, and people, I had a dog walk by and always be like, "What's with that?" And I never knew what to say. And I wish on retrospect, I just figured that there was a positive intent there. And I thought, what do you want to know about my hair?
Mhm.
Because it has a really meaningful story. And it's those kind of
Exactly.
conversations where you
Yes.
connect, and then you're not going to complain about each other.
Yeah, by the way, you raised more money than anyone in your area, I think $120,000 for, leukemia, right, and
That's
cancer.
right. And that's what
Yeah,
and I never
and I
thought,
respect that. I
never
totally
thought I
respect
could
that.
raise money. I didn't have that confidence.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
thank you for vulnerable about the purple hair brings out vulnerability and allows connection. And then that allows people to come and, feel like they can talk to you because you're letting down your guard so they feel like they can let down theirs. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. The next thing we talked about was greater self-awareness.
There's this thing in leadership that you have to know the pods of being, knowing, and doing. And the being piece, you've got to know where you're at. I was giving a talk in Montreal just a couple of weeks ago, and palliative medicine is very off label. We don't have a lot of good randomized control studies. And so I'm very aware that what I do may not be what everyone else does. And I was saying this at the conference, and a physician from the US actually came up to me after and said, "Thank you so much for this being aware that we're different." And so it's not
Mm.
just aware of yourself, but aware of how you fit with others, and that you can talk to each other and know that, again, the vulnerability comes up, but that we're vulnerable with our patients too.
Yes, oh, so good. Thank you. And then the a third one you said was accepting help. You kind of touched on that already.
Yeah, so important, and I was telling you about the, YouTube project management I did because I didn't know how to work out a project and put it all on paper, and like, I'm a doctor, so I should have on retrospect, I reach out to communications and the people around me who know how to do this, and I give them the clinical information, and I say, "Hey, can you do this for me?" And now they do it, and it's beautiful because, hey, this is what they do.
Yeah, yeah, and you'll be able to identify issues faster. And let me just touch on this. We also talked about greater innovation, and so you're allowing by asking for help greater innovation in your leadership and in your
Absolutely.
organization.
Right, because you're allowing this whole term these days that everyone likes, the psychological safety. It's safe to say, "Hey, I think differently." You don't have to hide under the rug because I feel differently, and someone says, "Oh, tell me about that." Because you're gonna have better change, you're gonna learn things, your team's gonna be more effective, and everyone's gonna feel integrated and heard.
I love that. Oh my god, so easy to talk to you. You know that many.
I
Thank
love
you
this
for
stuff.
this.
Obviously, you can tell.
And
I
the
love it.
last thing I wanna bring up in this short podcast is some tools to open up and show vulnerability. If you're not used to doing it, it takes a totally different change in your mindset. What kind of tools what kind of advice do you have to people, given the situations that you've been in?
I say small wins because you're absolutely right that we're not used to it, and I even cause trouble talking about it because people are really uncomfortable. And so if you're talking to someone and you feel uncomfortable,
Mhm.
I always just say take that moment and say, "What's happening?" And just a pause so that they recognize that you feel something, and even that little piece of vulnerability that you recognize, because sometimes they'll say, "Nothing, I'm busy." "Oh, because 'cause I'm really thought we were working together well, and I want to do the best for the patient. Can we just take a moment and talk about that?" That's a real vulnerable piece. You
Yeah,
really have to put yourself, but if you do it and the students or trainees or whoever around you sees it, and then they think, "Oh, I can do that."
yeah,
Someone's yelling, maybe I'll just stop and say, "Is this okay?"
yep.
Those
Mm,
really open things, or how can I help this situation?
right.
And so I think it's really just very simple, open-ended questions and knowing that it's not your fault. And I still have that, I talk about this all the time. And I was at my leadership training, and someone stepped forward and talked for someone and said, "Oh, they're too introverted. They're not going to talk. I'm going to share their idea." And I thought, "Oh no, this poor person." And even I was nervous about this huge group stepping forward. But I just said, "Look, if I don't do it, who's gonna do it?" So I stepped forward and said, "I really value that person, who didn't step forward, and thank you for the ideas, and you're you're so impressive, and it doesn't matter, you're not the one to step forward." And they came up to me after and said, "Oh, thank you so much." And, the rest of the team saw that too, and people said, "Thanks for that," because we didn't wanna say anything. So I think it's modeling really tiny little things if you're not comfortable, and then all of a sudden it's standard. Like, for me now, I just think, "This is fun." Someone says something, like, I'm gonna connect with them.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yep, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing all these things. I appreciate that. We'll have to have you back on again some other time because I know there's so much more about conflict and negotiation that you're an expert on. And I would love to hear that from you. But thank you everyone for listening. My name is Dr. Elsie Coe. If you have a topic on leadership, please reach out to me at info@drelsiecoe.com. And also check out our website, leadphysician.org, if you are interested or you and your organization are interested in getting physician leadership training. Any last words of advice for us, Amanda?
Well, my last words of advice are related to you, I think, is that people who are doing this work are really important and that we connect with people that are doing the work because you get power, you get not power, you get boosted up and feel energy and feel capable. So reach out to people. Thank you for all the work that you do because it's so critical. And I think we just have to be in this together and get your allies. That's my last piece.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a happy Sunday, everyone.